really exciting day for a lot of us, and we're really happy that so many people are able to make it out here and sharing this special moment with all of us. So keep things moving along here. First of all, I want to introduce our Mayor of Salina, Mayor Aaron Householder.
Thanks everybody for coming out. I'm going to leave a lot of the details of what's going on here to the speakers. I just want to say that this has been a project and that's exactly where Salina wants to go, and that is more community involvement, using local resources to make things like this happen. And I know a lot of the people out here were involved in making this happen, and it was a lot of work. It was hot. I stopped by to visit a couple of times, and it was really hot. And I ran the rake for about 5 minutes and decided, yeah, this is too much work. This is why we use tax dollars to pay for this stuff. But I'm glad that they didn't, and it came out really nice. And I think, initially people were like, oh, they're doing another art project in Salina or whatever else. And when it hit that it was all by volunteer labor and donations, everything else, the entire tone changed. And I think it's the sort of thing that makes the city stop and say, maybe rather than complaining, we should take a look at what's being done and seeing how nice this looks, and actually maybe we should get involved. And hopefully this is the start of a lot of other projects, provided I only have to give 5 minutes every time. I'd love to see 100 of these, but the guys that did work hard, like John and Gary and Darren and a bunch of the people that are here, it's a great testament to their commitment to their community. And with that, I'll let John kind of introduce the next few speakers who can give you a little more details on the art project and what went into the plannings and all of that. Thank you again all for coming out.
Thank you, Aaron. Next to speak here will be Barb Young, and Barb is the president of the North Salina Community Development Group, and that is, should have said it before, but this is a group that actually coordinated and put this project together. So next is Barb Young.
Glad to have you all here on behalf of North Salina Community Development. This has been a really great collaborative effort. I want to give a shout out to a few people. Gary Hobby, who manned the dingo and did a lot of work, came out on his own time. Darren Wright, I don't know, is he here? He was our ramrod. He was the one. John had the overall plan, and Darren went through and figured out the plantings and the materials and how much rock we needed, mulch. He did a fantastic job. And all of us worker bees said, okay, Darren, what do you want us to do? And he got it in place, and so I want to give him a big shout out too. I think it wouldn't have been done without his knowledge and input. And I want to thank everybody that was involved with the city and North Salina Community Development for all the hours we put in. Barb Good for the initial grant for $1,000 that we got through the Greater Salina Community Foundation. The rest of it was done through grants. And this was about a year and a half project, and so from just a weed patch to what you see now has just been really great. So I want to thank everybody for all their time and effort, and there's other things that we'll be doing. Hopefully we'll be doing across the street in 4 or 5 other areas like this up and down Broadway to give a nice entrance look to people when they come driving in off Interstate, and we'll see where that goes from there. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Barb. Next, what we want to do is to give everybody a brief history of what the artwork and where it has been in several locations throughout the town, and kind of just set the table for what would come after that, and that is some comments from the family. But just to give you a few ideas about how this artwork came to be and where it's been, we're going to start with Mr. Dick Bergen, and then Ted Zerger will follow.
Larry was my favorite art student, and I didn't have to teach him how to weld. He was a natural-born welder, and he was always bringing in these big hunks of steel and putting them together. I said, Larry, you're never going to make a living being an artist. And the reason I said that, when I was going to Bethany College, Charlie Rogers was my painting professor. He said, hey, Bergen, get smart. Don't go on the art racket. You'll never make a living doing art. I said, oh, well, I'm going to give it a try. And I've been at it for, I don't know, 50 years or more. No, I still haven't made a living at it. It's fun to do, and if you're not having fun, you might as well not do it. And Larry really enjoyed his work, and he enjoyed welding. And this little piece out here is going to be a catalyst for Salina. It's going to inspire them to look for the local artists and put us to work. Maybe we'll all be making a living before you know it.
Thank you, Dick, and also thank you for all you do to make Salina a more beautiful place. Ted Zerger is just a little brief thing. Is he's been a wonderful partner with North Salina Community Development, and we really appreciate everything that you've done. And then the piece of artwork, Community New Home, we had to go through a few trials, but we think we found the perfect home for it, and we really appreciate this, Ted. So if you would say a few things about maybe where you did it.
Okay. Well, Dick, you said you didn't make a living as an artist, but you did make a life out of it, and we are appreciative of that. I will pick up that structure at somewhere in the late '90s. We had a what's called a peace garden at the corner of Second and Forest, and I thought there needed to be some artwork around, so I got an Horizon grant through the Arts and Humanities Commission. Ta-da! Okay. And Dickie Bergen and Nikki Mitchell were the artists that worked with us, and we did all sorts of art things with the children in the neighborhood. And just how it came about, but Dick Bergen found out about it and wondered if maybe this sculpture could be used there. And I have never been known to say no to anything, especially if it was free. And so he offered it to us. And I want to say something about the sculpture itself. It is. I wonder if it wasn't actually made for that neighborhood and subsequently for North Salina. It speaks to. I will speak only for the neighborhood over there. It speaks to that neighborhood. It is absolutely perfect. It has just exactly the right degree of abstraction to it. Some people call it the sunflower. I objected to that because being a Kansas farm boy, I look at that. No, that's a windmill. Anybody can tell that's a windmill. And one day, a fellow drove up on his Harley, kickstart Harley. He had on a black leather jacket with an eagle on the back. He stopped and said, "I think that eagle is real cool." So it should not be titled. It reminds different people of different things. What's it made of? It's made of iron. A stainless steel, free-form sort of artwork, which is very appropriate in some settings. In that setting would not be appropriate, and I don't think it would be appropriate here. The kind of thing where people say, "What the heck is that?" You know, it reminds people of something. And I guess I try to find a word that describes it and its setting. And that is the word, there's a certain earthiness about it. And I just wonder if the artist himself, whom I never knew, maybe didn't have sort of an earthy part of his nature as well. Because what could be more earthy than a windmill, a sunflower, or an eagle than that? So we were very grateful for it. Now the property was turned over to Habitat for Humanity. Now what happens to the artwork? Well, basically that was left up to the Habitat for Humanity. They had the wisdom to contact the North Salina Development Group, and then it took off from there. And now here it is, and I'm so relieved that it found a place in North Salina. Thank you.
Thank you, Ted. All right, next in the program, we're going to hear from members of the Meitl family to share some family memories. Before we do that, though, I'd like to maybe just go through and do a little roll call and recognition. And if I could see by show of hands out there, any of the folks that had a hand in creating this rain garden, if you just kind of show your hands and be recognized. Thank you. And many people aren't able to be here as well. Also like to thank Salina Arts and Humanities for the help with getting the site approved, getting the base approved, and a lot of the help that they did in putting together what will be a plaque on this artwork to come. And so we really appreciate not only Arts and Humanities, but Gary Hobby and his office with Building Services for getting us lined up in the proper ways to get the right permits and everything else so we were legal. So we appreciate that. So if we could recognize it. Okay, now one of the parts I think that all of us really were excited the most about when we found out about it, and it's I guess you'd call it serendipity that all of this came together, because we thought this was just the perfect piece of artwork for this location. And then after we got into the project and got along in it quite a ways, we found out that there were some very personal family connections as well. So without going any further, I'm going to turn this over to Greg Stevens, who is going to kind of take this part over and share some of his thoughts and some of the other family members' memories as well. So, Greg Stevens.
Thank you, John. And I'm going to ask Nancy to come up here and join me. She's going to follow me. I become part of North Salina a couple, 3 years ago when it got started. And you've heard the story how the Peace Garden piece eventually was something that we had access to. During this whole period of time, we had stopped by the Peace Garden several times and looked at this piece of work and kind of admired it. I remember John and I, we went over there a few times with Carolyn. And never during this period did I know that it had anything to do with Larry. When we came to find out that it was Larry's, obviously it was pretty exciting. He's actually welded his name at the bottom of the piece, if you can go take a look at it. Larry was a family guy. North Salina is a family part of town. People up here are very family oriented. And I think there are a lot of family people out here. So some of my family's here. I'm a second cousin to Larry. And we'll let Nancy talk a little bit. But we really appreciate the family for coming out here. This is going to be an important piece for this part of the community. Thank you.
Larry's family is represented by 4 generations. I just realized his mother, Loretta Meitl, here in the purple and the black. All of his siblings are here. Sharon, Bernard, Dennis Meitl, Dwayne Meitl, and Jan Sattler. Well as 4, 5 nieces and nephew, and a great nephew, little Theodore, wherever he's at. Right. So I think that's really cool that his family is very well represented here, and I know they're all excited. And it's probably been a while since you've seen this piece, if you've ever seen this piece. So I won't delay the unveiling. I believe Dwayne's wife, Nancy Meitl, is going to say a few words about the artist.
Lawrence F. Meitl, better known as Zomker or Zom to friends, was a handyman in every true respect. Just like his father, there were few things that he couldn't fix, whether it be a house broken up from an earthquake or his beloved blue truck. Besides his handyman skills, he was an incredible artist. He attended Colby Community College for 2 years and later graduated from Marymount College of Kansas here in Salina in 1974 with a bachelor's degree in art. His artwork became his mode of expression, drawing, painting, sculpting, wood burning, his perceptions of life as he saw them. Larry was always open to new experiences, and as he attested to being part gypsy, he preferred to wander from place to place. He especially loved the Rocky Mountains in Colorado, Pine Island in Florida, and the paradise that he found on a trip to the Hawaiian island of Maui. He was equally at home in the harvest fields of the Midwest. He loved music with a passion. He also loved the water and was a good fisherman. He worked as a river rafting guide on the white waters of the Colorado River and thoroughly enjoyed being out on the open sea to see if he could catch that big one. But more than anything, Larry Meitl was a good friend. What most people liked about Larry was that he was genuine, never pretentious. People could always count on him just being who he was, a loving, helpful friend. From the East Coast to the West Coast, Larry went out of his way to help others. He was respected not only as a craftsman, but as a true dear friend. We miss him dearly, especially his full-bellied laugh, but his memory will live on in us as an inspiration to live a full life. He told a good friend when the end of his time was drawing near, "If I die tomorrow, that's okay, because I've lived a full life. I've gone where I've wanted to go and done what I've wanted to do."
Very good.
Does anybody else? Would anybody else from the family wish to share? Well, I tell you what, we're going to unveil the piece now, so if we can maybe get Gary Hobby, Ted, Aaron, and Barb Young, and then anybody else that has been on this project, maybe just go over there and give a hand real quick on unveiling this. And anybody that wishes to be a part of that. We're just making this part up as we go along. So anybody that wants to be a part of that unveiling, well, please join us.
Backside, that's so flattering.
Drum roll, please. I'm not quite sure how to announce this, but here goes Untitled. Thank you, guys. I want to thank everybody that preceded this for sharing all the history of this particular artwork and a little bit about the rain garden. I'd just like to speak ever so briefly about the future of this wonderful piece of art and this rain garden. Good. We're going to have Darren come up here and say a few words about, as I mentioned, the future of this park and what some of the plants represent and some of the different aspects of the rain garden. So, Darren Wright, and thank you, Darren.
Thank you. Well, it's kind of hard to believe when we first worked on this. It was a big dirt, weed patch. Everybody drove by it, didn't pay attention to it when we started working on it. People started asking questions, things developed. We had great volunteers on volunteer days that we did this. And to me, it's just a classic example of what can happen when people that all believe in something pull together. Everybody pitches in, does the work, takes care of it. And this is what we ended up with, a year and a half, almost 2 years already. So to me, from where we started and what we have now is a pretty big deal. I'm honored to be able to do a landscape around art piece like this. I'd like to see more examples of this around Salina because I think it needs everything should complement each other. But anyhow, the
Plant material is what I call low water or drought tolerant. Once it's established, there's no such thing as a no water plant. The basic design of the swales, which go around the perimeter and then through the middle here, is to capture managed rainfall. It retains it that way as the root development grows. Most of these systems will go deeper and spread out farther. They'll absorb into that water source. Eventually, in about 2 years, most of these plants will be touching each other, so it'll create a nice big open area. And then the gray-out junipers, or you have short evergreens along the riverbed. What those do, those will mimic water that flows through only when there's no water. So, anyhow, I just want to say thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, just a brief word, and then we'll all reconvene this over to the Bergen studio on and the address on 320 North Santa Fe. Just a couple, kind of off the top of my head here, I want to make sure I mention a couple of more groups before we break here. And that is, Barb Young mentioned early on that really what kick-started this thing was a $1,000 grant from the Greater Salina Community Foundation. So it kind of got us started, but there's been a lot of generous contributions made to here, a lot of them by Barb Young. But anyways, and others. Another thing I failed to mention too is that with Darren, he's also a city employee, works for the Parks Department, so he's put in long days of work and then come here at night as well. So, and then one other group that was involved here, two other groups that was kind of involved at the same time. RSVP Salina and the Salina Volunteer Connection provided us with several volunteers, and then the United Methodist Conference had a work day here where we had, I believe it was about 8 United Methodist volunteers from, I think, Nebraska and parts of Kansas that also were a part of this. So there's been a lot of people involved in this, but I want to particularly thank the Meitl family for coming today and being our honored guest, because we were really thrilled to have this artwork from Larry to be in the gateway and one of the first things that people see when they enter Salina. So thank you all very much.
Take pictures.
Bergen Studio now. You want to take some pictures up front?
Yeah.
What was that?
Get all the family together around the yard.
Oh, that'd be great.
So we can take one final picture.
Yeah, if anybody wants to take this thing along, go ahead and do that right now.